Hi, this is Ikenke from Blue Steel Auto School. Today is gonna be a short video. We get questions about when to take your test. Um, that that word "when" that can mean when in terms of your experience. It can mean when in terms of time. So, since I'm not sure if some of you mean one or the other, or some of you mean both, I'll discuss both of them. All right. So, as far as your experience is concerned, you just want to be comfortable, right? If you're still iffing and butting and you're not sure, you probably shouldn't take your test. Don't go to the test if there's a large chance that you're not gonna pass. Right? You want to be ready and comfortable, and then you can still fail. Unfortunately, I discussed in other videos, there's a lot of factors. Some of it might not even really be your fault, but unfortunately, life isn't fair sometimes. So, sometimes it could just be an animal jumps out in the road and they don't like how you react to the animal. So that's just something that's out of your control, right? But at least do your best to control what you can control. And so you have to be comfortable moving the car. You have to be comfortable making turns. You have to be comfortable doing 3-point turns and parking. You have to be doing your observation properly. So if you're still struggling, try to get as much practice as you can. But if you're still really having a hard time with any of those facets of the test, because there's not one part that's more important than the other. A lot of people spend a lot of time and energy on parking, which is an important part of the test. But if you can't drive the car straight, or if you can't make a proper turn, then you're never going to get to park on the test. So you have to be comfortable with every aspect of the test, right? As far as time is concerned, that depends on the person. Also, are you talking about time of day or time of year, right? I would say for time of day, if you're not comfortable driving in traffic, try not to schedule your test for rush hour. Know the location that you're going to. Some places are busier than others. And then, rush hour, which is in most places between 7 and 10 in the morning, or between 4 and 7 in the afternoon. Most of the time, these are, heavy traffic times of day, right? So you don't want to purposely book your test in that time if traffic is a problem for you. Right? But hopefully, like I said, if you're going to take your test, hopefully you've done some practice in traffic, and traffic shouldn't be a big deal. Right? All you have to do is make sure you're looking properly and make sure you can control the car. If somebody slows down in front of you, you just have to be able to slow down. Right? If you can't do that, then maybe you shouldn't get your license. But these are things you could think about. Time of year, most people, I guess for whatever reason, they want to try to get their license in the spring, summer. That's the busy season. Some people, I guess, just out of necessity, or that's just the time that they're ready, they do it in the colder months. As long as there's not any major weather event, it's not really a big deal. Now, what can happen, and some people ask me this, do you always have to park or do a 3-point turn on your test? And 9.9 times out of 10, the answer is yes. One circumstance that I've known people can actually pass their test without parking is after a heavy snowstorm. If there's a heavy snowstorm and there's just snow banks everywhere and there's no place to park, and they didn't cancel the test for whatever reason, you might be able to get away without parking if there's no place to park, right? But I wouldn't plan on that. I wouldn't count on that. How do you know when we're gonna have a blizzard or not, right? And remember, there's other aspects of driving that are more difficult in that situation, because now they're more careful and they're more attentive to, are you adjusting for the road conditions? Because during a snow or right after a snow, the roads are messy, and you have to make the adjustments. Right? If you're driving on a messy road and you're driving too fast, even 25 is too fast if the road has snow and ice all over the place. They'll fail you for that. All right, so there's a lot that goes into when to take your test, and really it's just a personal choice. And bottom line, make sure you're ready. All right, and that's all I have to say. I hope that answers your questions. So feel free to comment, like, request notifications, and please subscribe. Your Ken K from Blue Steel, signing off. Happy holidays.